Hey there, Feud fans. We are talking about Feud, Bette and Joan, episode 4. It may be called More or Less, but we just want more, more, more. And if you want more, then stay tuned. Hey.
Whatever happened to Baby Jane?
Hey.
She could dance, she could sing.
Right, you gotta do right. I'm gonna just toss in a new age.
There we go. Oh, there we go.
Dab it.
Right.
I love it. Welcome, everybody, to the Feud Aftershow here on BHL. We are talking about Feud, Bette and Joan, episode 4, More or Less. I'm your host, Alana Jordan. You can find me on Twitter at Alana Jordan and on Instagram at that Alana Jordan Girl. And today I am joined by...
Hey.
Let me wave real quick.
I just wanted to wave. Hey guys, what's up? I'm Nakia Monet, and you can find me on all social media at Kiki Boom Boom.
And hey everybody, my name is Raquel Harris. You can find me on all social media at Raquel Harris TV.
Hey everybody, I'm Lisa Mason Lee, and you can find me everywhere at Lisa Mason Lee. And guess what, guys? We're in the live chat tonight.
Ooh.
So if you're watching live, jump in the chat, ask us questions. We will have time for 1 to 3 maybe, and yeah, let's do that.
Hey.
Yeah.
I just also want to say live chat. I just want to say thank you to everyone who leaves us comments.
Yes.
I just want to give a special shout out to QUZ908. I rave about Bette Davis all the time. So this person, I don't know if you're male or female, I'm so sorry, said to check out the movie Dead Ringer, which is actually after
Great
Baby Jane.
film.
Really great film. So thank you for suggesting it. I will be checking it out.
Love that.
Hey. Ow, everybody's getting shout outs today. Right.
Shout out to the people in the comments.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you guys so
Love
much for
it.
watching. It's been
Yes.
I'm sure it's been amazing for you guys too. So
And be
'cause
sure
it's-
to subscribe to
Yeah,
both
subscribe, like, we're on iTunes, YouTube,
SoundCloud,
everything.
all the things.
Just watch us.
You can find us everywhere.
right, everywhere.
Watch us now.
Now, right. It's
They're
our
like,
show.
We are. That's how we're hearing you.
Exactly. Right, exactly.
So, right off the bat,
Oh.
what are you guys thinking?
I love this episode because this was all about female empowerment. It was sad. It was very, very sad. Bob's situation was like, oh my gosh, she got torn apart in this episode. But aside from Bob, because he's a man, so he, this is his expertise in his area. But this was definitely a very woman-filled with power empowerment episode. So I was really here for it. Shout out to Mamacita because she showed herself
Yes.
this episode. I was so excited, and she just it just really shows if women work together, we can be amazing. And we don't need a man to do anything. And also to Pauline, shout out to her too for standing up and saying, no, I want to be a female director and I can make room for that. So, and I can open more doors for women to come. So I love this. This is now my favorite episode. I know every single week we say this is our favorite episode, but this one I feel like is going to be like, I'm done.
I feel like the episodes, they keep getting better and better.
Yes,
and
they
better
do.
and better.
They do.
That's
they
why
do.
it's true. Every episode is our favorite episode because
We're
then
on
the
the
next
panel.
episode is a little bit better.
Right.
And then it's like,
And we open up with Joan at the William Morris Agency.
Right.
The biggest
Yes.
talent agency in Hollywood.
Absolutely.
I love
Still.
when they do these. Yes.
Okay.
I love- crazy.
Still.
I love when they do the parallels too with Bette and Joan, where we see how similar they really are.
Yeah, well, except for the fact that Joan had her entire
Yeah,
team.
well,
and
Bette has her one little
entourage,
baby.
right? Entourage, right?
It's like
right.
whatever happened to baby agent.
Right. And then she asked, he was like, "So, how old are you?" Like,
Yeah, I'm
Almost.
almost 23.
Almost
It's
23.
like,
Almost.
Sit down. Sit down.
but
Don't.
see,
Come on.
and Bob kind of talked about that later on with the whole generational thing, because obviously we can't call them millennials because we're called millennials, but every single generation before always does it to the next generation, and we always try to say oh, they're not looking at this, they're not watching this, but I am about to be 24 and I love Bette and Joan and I've followed them for a very long time, so don't judge people by their age because ageism is a real life thing.
Yeah.
So
And it's crazy that people aren't considered timeless until they're considered past their time.
exactly.
And it's like, how about you just acknowledge the people when they are the age that they are, that they're also still talented.
Exactly. And no matter how
Even
old
now,
you, right?
There's
Because
more than Meryl.
Because sometimes you're right, because your age does not determine how much knowledge or how cultured you are. So I mean, it just depends on your experiences and what you centered yourself around when you were growing up.
Which was kind of cool to see the reverse ageism too.
Yeah.
Right,
I love
right.
that. I was just saying, I wish that Joan and Betty were actually alive today in 2017, because you see the people like the Cicely Tysons, who's 90 and she's still working, and the Viola Davis and the Meryl Streeps, and we're it's okay to be older, and these people are not even old, but they weren't shunned because of their age. So I kind of wish that these legends were still alive today, because I feel like they would have got the respect that they deserve.
Especially for Cicely Tyson as a black woman, an
and
older
she's-
black
and
woman.
She's 90. But I do love Joan sitting at the head of that table with Marty at the end and all the guys, and she literally tells him to F you, Marty.
And you are all fired. All men, you're all fired.
You're all fired.
Because I had a problem with that too, because I do feel like if you guys you have 8 people on your team, like I'm just assuming, like I don't know who all is on our team, but for what was showing, how do you guys have nothing?
Yeah.
Nothing at all, like period. That didn't make sense to me. Like I understand, yes, they're older, they're women, and their careers are kind of, starting to plummet just a little bit, but still nothing.
Which is nuts that they are saying that they're just sitting around waiting, which is actually kind of a parallel directly to Betty, which I think you actually found her.
Yes, because Bette Davis wanted to say, or she had put in an ad that she was unemployed and she was looking for work, but actually that actually didn't happen. It happened prior to Baby Jane. She didn't put an ad in, which I don't know why. I know we go back and forth with like these facts and fictions with the show, but yes, we actually have a picture of her original ad. If we can pop.
Now,
that.
what paper was this in?
So I believe this was
on the show he says Variety.
No, yeah, I think it was
know if
Variety.
in real life.
It was
That's
in
an
the Hollywood
entertainment magazine.
Reporter.
Okay, so the Hollywood Reporter. this-
Situation wanted women in Hollywood
Yes,
Reporter.
and then she did like I'm a mother of 3, and I'm just like, girl, it's not that deep. But yeah, as you guys can see, right. Betty is crazy. She
Right.
is so
I live in a mansion.
love it. Right, a mansion. I'm sending my kids off to boarding school.
But I need a job.
Well,
It's
what's
tough.
hilarious, Martin Baum, her agent, then responded to it, and he said that he, talking about himself, so that he was, quote, an important agent. She was a big star, and I wasn't going looking for work for her. That was not exactly the position I expected to be in at that point in my career or her career. She was never out of work, but she was concerned about where her career was going, so she
Right.
placed the ad. Everyone was laughing. It was a joke.
But see, and
And
she
it's like,
really
calm
was
down, man.
But see, and I had read too that she was serious about it, and she actually wanted.
Yeah.
She thought that she wasn't going to get any more films, but then she just got picked up on Baby Jane. So,
Well, Bob does say to her, she's like, it was just a joke. He's like, it wasn't really though.
but I'm like, girl,
She had said if she hadn't have been employed at the time, if she really was unemployed, then she wouldn't have ran it.
Right.
But it was to people who were saying you're unbankable, and she's like, well, psh,
Am I?
I'm Bette Davis.
yeah.
I'm the
Like
queen.
that's
It's like
okay.
serious, but it's like a joke, but like also
Kinda serious.
like yeah.
Yeah, but you know what? That's also very sad because it does show how much I'm trying to think of what the perfect word is. How much confidence you lack in yourself, and your name is a household known name,
Yeah.
Bette Davis, and you're putting an ad in a unemployed.
Then we see like that's just a
crazy.
parallel for all of Hollywood.
Right.
Now we
Right.
see that none of them have any faith in their own film.
I was just gonna say, like, they didn't make it easy for these women. They kept. I mean, you have people saying this is a B film. This is not. This movie is going
Yeah.
to bomb, and the movie didn't even come out yet. So when you have people who in their 50s and they're not getting the roles. Joan had to literally find this to make this into a movie.
Made
So
it
of course,
herself.
you're gonna lack the confidence because now you're older, and
Yeah.
Hollywood kind of throws you out. And the one movie that you made is supposed to be big.
Right.
It's gonna be a B movie. Excuse me.
Right,
And
Bette Davis
so-
and Joan Crawford, top names.
So like the wanted ads are like the Twitter of the old days. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, it would be a way
Except
to
for not
get your
limited to
voice
140
out.
characters.
right. Or it's like in your bio, the booking information, like book
Yes.
me at this. Like, I mean, but
That would have been her tweet. Her
right,
tweet.
right,
was actually her
right. And she
tweet.
just looks so.
You know what it just kind of reminded me of when Kristen Chenoweth won for the Emmy for Pushing Daisies, and it was right after Pushing Daisies was canceled, and she used her entire speech like as a joke, but she was like, "Now that my show is canceled, if anyone would like to hire me, I have lots of time on my hands.
Right.
Here are some shows that were nominated that didn't win that can now hire me. And then just like list.
that.
I was like, I love you.
That's awesome.
It's fun employed.
That's what I call it. Fun. Me and my friends call it fun
Fun
employed.
employed.
Fun employment.
But it's like depression, but not. You're like happy because you're free, but you're not happy. 'cause
Well,
there's
Bob
a-
calling it his public execution.
Oh.
You go into the public execution on Saturday, it's like, oh, buddy.
See.
The way they judged this movie didn't even come on. They're like, oh, it's gonna bomb. Oh, I don't want to go to the preview. Oh,
But see, I'm like,
guys.
you guys have spent months doing this movie.
Right.
Why are we being so negative? Because if this was the case, then just don't do it.
Well, Jack kind of was,
yeah.
you know, on top of him kind of, and Jack wasn't positive about this movie. He's like, this is a B movie, Bob. It's fine.
Right,
It's okay.
right.
You're not going to get work anyway. I think Bob really went into this movie like he was super excited about it. But then
It was
when
his
you're-
last chance.
Yeah, you're
Bob's
working with
thinking-
these
yeah.
two. You're tired. You're angry. You don't know if this movie's actually good because you had to babysit these two crazy
Yeah.
ladies on set. And then you have your boss who actually doesn't give a about the
Really,
movie.
right, at all,
At
period.
all.
Which, and he told him that it wasn't going to work. He didn't even want to work with him in the
Right.
first place. So I'm like, you know, and I feel bad for Bob this episode because he just got shunned so much. And when Jack told him, when he was like, you know, do you see me having the potential to be great? And he's like, no.
No. Without hesitation, just right
But
off the oh.
Yeah, but and you know, and you know, on the flip side, I respect how honest Jack is because as much as of an asshole he is very to the point and honest.
Yeah.
So and you can't, like he says, you know, say it to me straight, and he's like, I always do, Bob. So and I'm like, please don't, like,
he's a dick, but at least he's not like a manipulative dick.
Right.
Like
yeah, it's just
most
it's
of
blunt.
Hollywood.
It was
Right.
kind of like a Bettyism, you know, like
Yeah.
where Joan never felt like she was good enough as Betty.
He says to
Yeah.
Bob, one of my favorite quotes he says to him, he's like, I mean, just because I made you, Bob, doesn't mean I can make you do whatever. You're not like a puppy.
Oh.
I'm like, okay, are you apologizing? And then give him a backhand
And,
compliment?
right,
Yeah.
an empty compliment.
And we
Yeah.
see how dire this is for Bob. He's talking to Harriet, saying, "Harriet, we might have to sell the house."
And possibly the kids. No.
Right, I love her. She was like, but we might
She's
get more money
amazing.
for the house. I was
Yeah.
like, she's.
And her
what's
just
she still
totally on
doing there?
board. Which this is what's
Oh
crazy
my
too is seeing the
God.
parallel with Harriet and Joan when he's saying, you know, so she goes out, if I'm gonna divorce you, I'm gonna wait till your next big hit. And he's saying, so if I hit rock bottom, then you're okay with it. But if I'm really successful, then you're calling a lawyer.
She's like, I'm gonna get
And
them
then
coins.
yeah, well then we see Joan basically like cannot handle success. It's just some people
It's crazy. You can't handle it.
Yeah.
can't handle the flip side. They're fine with, you know, getting kicked dirt in
Yeah.
their face, but
When they get the
being
success, they
abused.
don't know how to handle it, handle the compliments.
Yeah.
Like Mamacita told her, like, they're smiling at you. Like, she's like, no, they're laughing.
But
They're-
when she
But how
said,
come
I
it-
can. Oh, sorry. Go
Now,
ahead.
how come it's so different for Joan this time around than before? How did she react to other successes she had in the past?
But I think in the past she had her happy house, she had her kids, she had something to come home to. Now this is all she has, and because she's
Alcoholism
yeah,
and
she's
loneliness.
put
Yeah.
so much pressure
Yeah.
on herself.
But see, I liked her quote when she said they're laughing at me, and well, Mamacita's like they're smiling at you, and she was like, "Yeah, I can kill you while smiling," and I was like, "Okay," because for real, people you think they're your friends and they smile at you in your face, and I was like, "Good
You can tell
point."
this is something she's been thinking about because she's like, this is 1937 again. And Mamacita's like, when Hitler took over Russia, she's like, no, when they called me box office poison.
Right? Yes.
So you can tell this is kind of, you know, Joan doesn't.
Her direct narcissism,
yeah,
where it's like
the criticism
yes.
doesn't hit hard. I mean, she can't take the criticism.
Right.
Poor Joan.
Well, I'm glad that they mentioned that too because that's actually Pauline's not even a real character.
No.
She's not even a real character. She actually came in before. They were inspired because Joan had previous altercations with
Right.
female directors.
I was gonna say, so since we're on this, Pauline she's an actress in real life, but she's
Right.
not really the name of his assistant. The name of his assistant name was Geraldine Hersey, and she was the person to help him get this movie started.
Right.
So I thought that was dope for him to have Geraldine. They didn't use her real name, but I think it was dope to use Pauline in the show like women empowerment.
Yeah,
this
because
woman who wanted to start. and-
Absolutely.
also, just wanted to give a quick shout out because this was about female directors. So there were female directors that started in the silent era in the 1920s. So you have like Lois Weber, Edith Calmer, Geraldine Dulac, Lenore Coffey. So these were women who were getting it started in the 1920s,
Yeah.
but kind of went away a little bit.
Right.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Well,
silent movies.
Joan had said that they went behind the scenes and were doing costuming and things like that. I wonder what flipped that around.
Yeah, like they're doing big things, they're directors, and then
Well, because
Yeah.
Joan,
well,
she says money basically is that the men who had money were like, well, this is the power is.
Well, and two silent
wallet
movies
talks.
died.
Yeah.
So in that sense, it was like, okay, well, where are we gonna put female?
The costs were a lot. The production costs to make a movie were a lot more
Right.
expensive.
And
so
okay.
if it bombed, you had a lot more to lose.
Right.
And then
and-
there were some female directors that came after the silent movie, but there weren't as many. Like Jermaine Dulac and Lenore Coffey. They made movies that weren't silent. It's just that
It wasn't it wasn't
They were
profitable
women.
because exactly.
Which sucks.
And then they put them in costume because it's like, oh, clothes, like the more feminine,
do
departments.
some makeup, ladies.
Right. So, but hey, we have Ava. I know Ava DuVernay's like, I'm here. Doesn't matter. I'm here. So like, it's great. But like, I liked Mamacita's scene with Pauline where she was saying, no, the decline in men. This is when you have to take advantage of these types of things because men aren't really the focal point of film and TV anymore. We need to start making movies about the people who are the majority. So
And I love too, Mamacita, her whole interaction every time that she's with Pauline, when she's
Yes,
talking
the
about America,
statistics.
and she's like, "This is America. No one can tell you you're crazy."
Okay.
I love that.
I love
She was
that.
I
like,
love.
yeah.
Here you decide.
you can tell that she chose to serve a woman.
Yeah.
That's what I noticed about
Which is
in
so
this
funny
episode.
to me that Mamacita is actually German and that she was
Yeah.
only called Mamacita because Joan. So Joan asked for her neighbor, asked for a housekeeper, said, your
Right.
house is impeccable. Her housekeeper recommended her own mother. And she was like, she's very strict. Like, you will, like, hands and knees scrub her. And she was like, send her over. Forgot her name and was like, she just came back from Buenos Aires, I think, and was like,
Okay.
she said everybody there was just saying Mamacita. So without even thinking, I just went, Mamacita.
Oh my God.
Come in here, and called her in, and that's what she called her for the rest of her days. And Mamacita was just like, okay.
I'm Mamacita.
So this German lady.
She's probably like, I'm getting paid.
Yeah.
Whatever. Like, it's kind of like when someone messes up your name. I mean, obviously that's completely not her name, but when someone, like, for instance, my name is Raquel, not Raquel. It's Raquel. And even when someone spells it like Rachel, and I'm like, that's kind of illiterate, but whatever. I'm not gonna go there. But like, I won't correct someone who says Raquel because unless I'm like on air or something like that, because it matters. But if I'm like in regular passing and someone says Raquel, I'm just gonna be like, okay, whatever. Because I just don't. It just takes too much energy for me to be like, no. And then you don't want to come off rude. It's like, and she, you know what I mean? There's like, it's like a scary.
Mamacita probably didn't mind either because
Yeah,
they
I don't
became so close.
And it's
because,
Joan.
and Pauline even says, you're Joan's right-hand woman.
Right.
I know what it's like to
Right.
be a right-hand woman. Let's have each other's back. And there, I think, is the most authentic female dynamic is these two ladies who are saying, we've been, kind of put in this secondhand position, but we
Yeah.
have more power than people really
realize.
Great exchange
Yeah.
between those two.
So
Yeah.
I love that. Just women kind of recognizing each other's power and building each other up and saying,
Yeah.
don't give up. You decide you can do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And these are the two women that people don't really look at or talk to because even the part when Joan's like, who's Pauline? And she's like, Mamacita's like, you've
You
seen
met her 50 times.
Right.
Come on.
So I love
Right.
seeing these two women together and, Mamacita kind of giving her the boost. Like, you can do this.
Anything.
Just do it. So I
Yeah.
love seeing that exchange between the both of them.
But then
And
it
I want to shove in a question real quick. We've got one
Yes.
from Matt Sanders, and he said, what do you all think of the way Joan declined Pauline's offer?
I was just gonna get on that.
Heartbreaking.
Yes. I was
Heartbreaking.
so, oh my gosh. And then her line when she said, oh, I'm not doing it not because you're a woman, it's because you're a nobody.
And it just sucks because it's like you see Joan and Betty and they're fighting to be respected.
Yeah.
And I get that they're legends, but they're fighting for Jack and everyone else to respect them. And I feel like this is an everyday thing. When you go into work and you have someone who's higher than you, you kind of want them to mentor you and you look up to these people and they've been where you are. They've been the intern, they've been the associate, but because they've made it to the top, now they feel like they don't have to help you or
Or you're nobody.
Give-
Yeah,
'cause you're a
I feel like
nobody.
it's almost in this one Joan's own insecurity though,
is.
because she's flat out says, "My last opportunity is not going to be your first."
it's heartbreaking.
That was sharp though, man. When I tell
You're
you
like,
Joan comes with those quotes, I'd be
I
like,
hope you understand. I
She-
understand that you're a bitch.
Ma'am.
but see, I do, playing devil's advocate, I do understand that point of, not because she's a woman, that's stupid, but in the sense of,
At her point in her career.
yes,
Yeah.
at her point in her career where she really can't take many risks right now, because if she does something that completely flops, regardless if Baby Jane was a hit, she's at this point where she can't, she can't
I
do
think
that.
if she had gotten an Oscar, I think she could have.
Yes.
She was. But my thing is, I got that, but don't disrespect Pauline and say, I didn't even read it.
Yeah.
At least read it. If you know that you're going to decline and read, this is great, but right now I can't take this. How about in the future that we can work together maybe down the line?
We're saying
I would
she's
respect
not,
that more.
Yeah, it's not like she's got a stack of other scripts to read. You got nothing. You got
Exactly.
nothing
Right,
going on.
right.
Put down the bottle.
Right.
You're
Pick
scared
up
you're not
the
going to even be
script.
nominated for an Oscar. See, I'm petty, so if I was Pauline, I would be like, really? Because you have no job right now. But thank you so much. Have a
I
great
But
was
day.
see, I liked how Pauline handled it, because she's like, and even though she was teary eyed, and that's, that hurt. I'm sure that hurt, especially coming from Joan,
Yeah.
another woman, period. But at the same time, I like that Pauline held her composure, because you never know if Joan comes in later on, if she becomes famous. And what was sad too is that Pauline actually wrote it for Joan.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, come on, kid. This is so sad.
The real kick, I think, was when that last little dig, and don't forget, you're very lucky to have the position that you're in. If you overreach, you might look greedy.
Like,
Basically,
really?
know your place.
You shouldn't have standards, or you shouldn't want to be better than
Which
what you
they
are
would
right
never
now.
say to
A man.
A man.
Absolutely not.
And Joan, when she wanted something, she was knocking down these doors. When Betty wanted something, they were pushing down the doors. So you see
Yeah.
Pauline, this young lady who's been with Bob, and she wants to do something as a woman. And this is the thing about women. You see this girl, not saying that you have to do the movie, but to just do her like that and to throw those jabs.
Yeah.
It's like you did the same thing when your agents turned you down and you went to Jack and you wanted this movie, and you're gonna say don't reach for something because you're gonna look too desperate. Really?
Yeah.
But
Sorry.
see, hey,
I'm just upset. I'm like, really?
but hey, what comes around goes around,
Yeah,
and
sure did.
obviously,
The
petty is real.
yeah, sure
It is
did.
real.
It's real.
Petty Betty.
But then it
not
ends
Betty
up.
Joan.
Yeah, I know, right?
Right.
But then it ends up. Everybody's so worried about this movie being a big bomb. Even the production guy is throwing in singers. I'm like,
It's like I heard the first act is a bomb. I'm
yeah, when he's went and Kiss Me Deadly, make sure that these weren't switched up because the bomb went off in the second act. Or the bomb goes off in the first one and this one. Shut your mouth, production man. Just like
it's like
the cans.
But you know what though? That's I feel like that's generational. Like, we all are like that with movies, and then we end up seeing them, and it's like, oh, okay, it's not that bad.
The crazy thing is, it wasn't even the audience. These are people who worked on the movie.
But see,
Yeah.
that's
But
why.
think about Steven Spielberg. When Jaws came out, every interview was, this guy's an idiot. Don't listen to this guy. This movie's not even going to come out. This is going to tank. The crew called it flaws.
yeah.
They were like, this guy, idiot. And then the movie came out and they were like, so I'm going to take that back. Just.
But see,
And they sure took it back because when they did the preview for this, it was a standing ovation. Everyone loved Baby
yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's obviously a direct
Warner's gonna
difference
have
between an audience or the general audience and people who work in film and TV,
Right.
because people who are in TV and film, we see it completely differently than just a regular audience. They're like, oh, it's exciting. I'm
But then
excited.
we see that through Joan's eyes too, where she is explaining to her, the fans, even though the critics are all raving about Betty, the fans are here for you, and we see that's not her blowing smoke. We see the fans swarming around her. We see
I
that,
know, that was such a good moment for
which
her.
was so sweet.
I was like, oh.
No.
But then it
You're
is
terrible,
that,
but-
yeah. But then it is that direct parallel of what the critics say and what the fans say, and we see that even today, where there are fan favorites that the critics just shred.
Yeah.
Right.
And so ultimately, when it's entertainment for the people,
Right.
then how do you gauge your own value? How do
Yeah.
you gauge your own worth?
Yeah.
That's why these people are constantly at odds with their own selves.
Yeah, that's a very good point. You're constantly being judged, and you really don't know how to judge yourself. So
Yeah.
you start to make art for people instead of for yourself, and that's the unfortunate part about it. But
Like
hey.
you said, it's even like now because there's cult classics that to me are classics, and you'll
Uh-huh.
read critics like this
Yeah.
movie was horrible,
Right.
or there's people who were in movies and they talk about it 20 years later. They're like, wow, when I made this movie, it flopped in the box office, but now the DVDs and
Yeah.
everything's selling.
Yeah.
So like it's a B movie at first, and then it gets all the success, and then is it moved to an A slot? I feel like people don't
wonder.
really talk about that.
Yeah.
It's always
I feel
just
like
going
there
to be
should
a B
be
movie.
like a word
Redemption.
for that. Like a
Right.
redemption,
Like a Tosh Burger redemption.
People just say a cult cult classic, but it's like, no, there should be like everyone thought this was garbage, and then later we were like, you were
Right,
wrong.
right.
I wanted
Word
to
for
have,
that.
guys, tweet us a good word.
Right.
For
We'll
an
table it.
angry redemption movie. For
Right.
you thought this was gonna be trash, but I turned your dumpster fire into a
Right.
blazing glory.
Right.
Yeah.
We
Right.
proved you wrong.
Okay, right. You thought.
You thought you
Right.
tried.
I liked. Oh, sorry. No. I was gonna say just another real moment for Jack Warner when he told Joan when she was like, "You even think that she can act better than me?" And he was like,
she
"She
can."
can." I was like,
Hesitation.
No, and
She can act circles around you. He's like, the only thing is your ass is nice and your tits,
tits
don't
aren't
sag.
saggy.
Jack Warner, ladies and gentlemen. Jack Warner.
What a
But
man.
it's so-
Zing.
But I was like, because she deserved that, because the way she was coming on to him, and she's like, I need you to push hard for me, and you know, maybe even a little bit harder. And he was like, look, it's not cute when you were 45, and it's
Yeah.
not, and it's definitely not cute now. I'm like, please, I'm sorry, Jack needs to be my friend.
But Jack,
Jack
I
is
mean, but then
hilarious.
sometimes he comes in with a dig soon. He's like, be out there shaking hands and
Yeah.
sucking D, and you're like, all right, calm down. And she's
Jack is
like, well.
crazy.
But see, he came there with a message. He's like, why are you not promoting the film?
Right.
Yeah.
This is a big.
Which is so funny too, because Joan, which we flat out see after this scene when they're being interviewed and they're saying, you know, she can handle failure better than success.
Right.
When she walks in before her premiere and she thinks that everybody is going to think that it's trash, she's, well, I always show up anyway. I hit my marks. I show up on time. Betty went and hid in Maine to look after her daughter. But
yes, I
and then,
loved that quote.
As soon as everything is great, fine and dandy, where's Joan?
Being
Not on
drunk.
time, not on her mark.
can't handle success.
Another great quote, though, which you had mentioned: "Win, lose, or draw, I always show up."
Yeah.
Oh my
Always
gosh, I was
I
like,
like that.
But do you though?
I do too.
Yeah, but do
right?
you?
But
Drunk,
do you?
she shows
Do
up,
you?
but drunk.
Do you?
But
and
you
the
know,
maitre d' is like, can you stop telling me
He's
about
like,
this?
so
Yeah.
You can sit down.
waiter, I don't care.
Yes.
So you're gonna sit down. But I think Jack, even though he can be an asshole sometimes, he's like the father because they both have issues. He's like the father that they didn't have or that they needed because you kind of need, because Bob is like the nice dad who's like, oh, okay. Jack, you kind of need him to be an asshole. Daddy. He's their
Really.
daddy, and he's like, you need to get your ass up and stop being drunk and promote this goddamn film.
Yeah, I like.
You're pickled.
Like you're constantly having to say to babies, stop
Right.
being drunk.
Yeah,
to your children, stop being drunk, children.
yeah.
You're pickled, Joan.
And even to Jack too, I liked Bob's
Pickled at
quote.
11 a.m.
Right. Oh, right. At 11. I was like,
you're
girl.
pickled like a herring
He said
at
it's 11 a.m.
5 o'clock somewhere, Joan was thinking.
Yeah.
Joan's like, well, I was in the bathroom earlier and
Right.
I ran out of reading material and the only thing in there is a mini fridge. So.
Yeah,
And Babaka.
exactly. Okay. And Cutworth, yeah. But no, I liked Bob's point to Jack in his response and saying, I'm not going to do anything that doesn't challenge me.
Right.
And I was like, oh my gosh, it's so much inspiration and motivation in this episode. I was like, I'm living for this. Like, I love Bob and how he always strives to be better and better and better no matter what anybody says about him because, like you said, there's so many artists that have been in Hollywood that have gotten turned down and said they weren't creative. Walt Disney said that his ideas weren't great. I'm blanking on Harry Potter. Oh my God,
J.K. Rowling.
J.K. Rowling. Like there's so many artists that have been told no, and it's so easy to quit. But
Stranger Things.
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
although I won't comment on that. But
Hey, it got made.
It
no,
sure
no,
did.
on another
it got
show.
made right. Okay, right.
I will say one of the funniest things from this episode was I love how like Bob complained about working with these two old broads, and then he starts working with Frank Sinatra.
Oh, this kid.
The biggest man baby.
The man son. He kept calling him everything.
Like, and I thought it was funny because he's like, I will not do another movie when it comes with two old broads fighting. I'm good. I don't want to do it. Then he works with Frank, and I thought that was hilarious.
Plummets.
Because Frank treated
Oh
him
my
like
God.
Are
He
you
was
guys
terrible.
Are you guys up on your history with Frank Sinatra and the mob and the money and
Yes.
Hollywood?
yeah.
Throwing money at productions, getting movies made.
threatening
There
to
was a
break people's
whole-
legs. Like,
When he said,
Pretty Blue Eyes is dangerous.
Yeah.
okay, those Italian men though. No.
Now, I never knew that there was such a side of him. that was so harsh.
Have you not seen him walking off his helicopter with like a whiskey neat, just like
Yeah, he's tripping.
Because they do portray him being this sweetheart,
Like a lover
this
boy.
lover.
He's the heartthrob.
he's a womanizer.
He is a womanizer, but he's
You know
called.
who I do have to say, which a little off topic, but look up his mother because that woman was phenomenal. She was like chaining herself to stuff for women's suffrage and was
Oh,
like,
nice.
Oh
Yeah.
wow, okay.
So look up
Frank
Sinatra's
So
mom.
aside from Frank, look up his mother because
His
she's
mom is awesome. Frank is a grown ass man, baby.
Elaine.
Frank was crazy.
but his mom though.
His mom.
But
Okay.
is that how his ego got so big? I mean, he just had the money, he had the gangsters
Just
behind
throwing
him.
and then threatening people
Making-
easily like
yeah.
that, and then when he
Yeah.
called Bob's daughter a bitch, I'm like, yo,
Oh
Frank,
my
fucking chill
God.
out.
Yes.
She's like,
I know the line, you stupid
But
bitch.
I was like, damn.
And then Frank, this is what's nuts. Bob just saying, okay, that's out of bounds, which yay for Bob standing up. Then to
That
turn
clap back.
around, you're nobody. I should have you decapitated and left.
he's like, they
calm
wouldn't even
said,
put a
down,
cross on your
sir.
grave.
Right, and then called him
No
a
one will
you
even
four-eyed
notice you're
freak.
gone.
Frank's, I was like, I
And
can't
then
listen to Frank
hop on
Sinatra
a
the
damn
same.
plane to New York. Shoot around me. Oh, you jerk.
Oh, you little bastard.
But even on the golf course, when he was like, light me. And that dude just ran up. I'm like,
He's like, feels like a heart attack's about to come on. I'm like, you are very rude, sir. Very
It
rude,
just
Frank
shows
Sinatra.
Bob has no power at this point. And then the women are coming in. I'm glad somebody's getting credit for our success. And he's like, bitch, I'm on the golf course, like crying. Frank Sinatra, the suntan man-child,
Right.
is mutilating my
the
script.
shade is so real back in those days.
He thought he had it bad with Betty and Joan, and then he has to work with
I love
Frank
it.
One
Sinatra.
I love
guy.
That's what made me laugh. I'm like, wow, you thought you had it bad with these two ladies. Here comes Frank Sinatra being a little baby, threatening to kill you, so you literally cannot argue with him.
Right,
And
at
you're-
that point.
He's like, okay, I won't argue with
Right,
you.
you right. Fly out.
But you notice how he's so sweet about, it's Harriet, right? His assistant?
Yeah.
He's
Harriet's
so
his
sweet
wife.
about
Pauline
not
is his
Pauline.
wife.
He was so sweet about the script, but then after he's under all this pressure, Jack
I
feeds it to him, and then
know.
he's just like totally turned off by her script.
I felt so
he shuts her
bad.
down.
I did too.
I feel like if Frank would have never threatened to kill him and chop his legs off, he would have gave her a script. that
Well,
she-
no,
I
think
think
it
that
just
it was
shows the
like the
pressure.
chain of yelling.
Yes,
Well,
from
I thought it was
Jack.
more so. Yeah, I was gonna say it
Yeah.
was really Jack that turned him completely off because he at that point he just felt like he was hopeless.
Yeah,
like he
that's
was
when Jack just
It's
ripped
like
him to hell
the
and back.
negativity is just so contagious, and you see how
Which
it spreads like a virus.
And it's almost, Joan basically did the same thing where she's like, look, I don't have any more chances. I can't help you. I can barely help myself. And so
Yeah.
Bob is kind of feeling the same thing where he's like, look, nobody's helping me. Using her poor script as scrap paper and then handing it back to her.
Oh man, but I like that she called him out on that.
Yes.
Yeah.
I one thing I love Pauline. I love that she stood up for herself. I love that she went after what she wanted and she stood up to Bob. She's like, "This is my script, and you used it for scrap paper." And he's like, "I can't deal with this." And I'm like, Bob is gonna have a heart attack.
Yeah, and then told her that women directing films is not reality. I was like, wow, like this is, oh my, it's just crazy to think that we've evolved from that. Like that's so, I mean, there's obviously a lot of different issues that we still haven't solved completely, but oh my gosh.
I'm sure we've all had our moments where
Oh,
we've
yes.
tried to get something handed up, higher in the ranks, and they're just like, no.
No.
It's okay. You can sit down.
Yeah.
But see,
You're
but
a
now
girl.
it's not as direct as, oh, we can't have women in film. We can't have women directors. Like, it's more so of like, oh, I know you're a woman, but I'm not going to let you know that. But
I'd rather you be direct with me, kind of how it was back in the day, because at least now I know.
No.
Where now it's like, we
Yeah.
love women in 2017. We're just not going to pay you. You're not like
Right. It's very backstabby.
So I would rather like Jack or someone tell me direct, because at least now I know
what you about?
what it is.
But
I don't
now
know,
you can
if
get
somebody
sued.
said to me, no one is going to let a woman direct a picture, you're in fantasy land. If you want to come back to reality and be my assistant,
Horrible.
I would be like, okay, well, you know what? I'm just going to go die in
I'm
this
gonna jump off this
corner,
bridge.
Because, ouch.
This
Yeah.
episode, it was a lot going on. It was a lot of negativity. It was a lot of women empowerment. It was a lot of, standing up for yourselves and, seeing Joan and Betty be so vulnerable, because now they're going through those stages where this movie's done. Now what?
But
Well,
seeing
yeah.
Mamacita, I think, just as this strong character through, because we see her, giving Paulina, Pauline, saying, hey, now the sense is, when this was frontier land and men were all coming in, yeah, they had more power because there was more men. But guess what? All the men are dying off in war because they're idiots and they're shooting each other.
Well, they're not
so-
as strong. And
Yeah.
I mean, and hey.
And they're dying off. Women are stronger anyway.
Stats.
We're like more and more of the
Ironing
population.
t-shirts and
and being healthy.
Cramps.
Which I
raising
love that
babies.
it's
We can handle pain.
Right. We're strong mentally and physically.
I'm just saying.
But we're
I'm just
emotional.
saying.
But we
are
also have that emotional
Right.
pain immediately.
Right.
We see Joan waking up in her drunken stupor, all the phones off the hook. And first you're like, oh, what's going on with all the phones? And you're like, oh, Oscars were announced today. She does not want any reporters calling.
At first she
Genius,
wakes up. I'm like,
Mamacita.
that was great for Mamacita to do that. Joan's all confused. She's like, why are the phones off the hook? Joan,
You were
I need
supposed
to
to
sit
wake
down.
sit down.
I thought she was just
sit down.
hungover
You
for
gotta- you
this.
gotta
I
sit
thought she
down.
was hungover. She doesn't want the
Yeah.
break. And Mamacita's like, I'm just gonna help you. I need you to sit down.
Oh, I knew, because that was kind of like the undertone of the entire episode was the nominations.
Those
So I
damn
was like,
Oscars.
but I mean, hey, but she kept foreshadowing it herself, because she was like, if I don't get just at least a nomination, like.
Betty Davis is a great actress. I
I mean, it was more so about her though, and she
Yeah.
played someone insane.
She did, like Hedda said, she played a crazy person, you played a cripple.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
I can see.
Yeah,
how
I
she
can
got
see
it.
her getting the Oscar, and
Yeah.
I feel like this whole show, we're on 4 episodes, but it's just been highlighting the difference between the two of them. How Betty was more about her craft and Joan was more about vanity, and Joan got the love of the audience, but Betty got the love of the critics. So I can see where the Oscar nomination, because she challenged herself.
Yeah,
But then you see just the real pettiness after Jack Parr's show when Betty's on it saying, which I loved that she calls out Jack Warner. And it's like, Jack Warner said he's not going to shell out a nickel for these 2 old broads, which really happened.
right.
Yes.
And then Joan didn't actually call. She sent a note in real life, but she did say,
Right.
don't refer to me as an old broad.
Right.
And it's like,
Joan.
woman.
Drunk at that.
Drunk, and then says, look, half the success belongs to you. And instead of her being like, you know what, you're right, let me enjoy this, she goes, then I'd appreciate if you'd enjoy it half as much.
Click.
Right? It's like weird how crazy half as much.
But instead of embracing this moment and the success and the both of them coming together, because this was a great movie, she doesn't know how to handle the success.
can't help but
sits
be
at
Betty.
home depressed and drinking, and you know what it is, because they're trying to figure out what they're going to do next.
Yeah.
So they can't really live in this moment, which is unfortunate because it was a great movie.
And that's really a real artist though too. It really, really is. Like where you're just like, okay, you never feel like you're doing enough.
Yeah.
Ever. So I mean that I can relate to, but I also would be kind of, a little turned up if I was in a movie and I'm 60 something. So I mean I don't know why she's tripping. That's just ridiculous. Not 50s, middle aged.
Yeah.
Well, she's saying, she back when she was younger and she was knocked down, she had time to claw her way back
Right.
up. But
has
it's like,
no
woman,
time.
you don't have to claw your way back up. You were in a movie that everybody's losing it over, which they say is number 8, but Jack says for what we spit on it, it's number 1.
Okay.
I mean,
Jack is.
And it's like,
Love
Joan,
Jack.
not only does half the success, most of the success belongs to you. You got this entire thing off the ground.
Yeah,
If it wasn't
producing
for
credit.
you,
Enjoy it.
that's the thing. If it wasn't for you, this movie, that's why I'm like, Joan, just enjoy it a little bit.
Yes.
It's because of you that this movie is
You
here.
go on some interviews and say, hey, not only did Jack Warner not want to do a picture, like not want to put any money for it, he didn't do any damn work for it. Nobody
Yeah.
did. Guess who showed up and put all these pieces together? Guess who bit the bullet and was like, you know what?
Exactly.
I'll work with the woman that I've been kind of jealous.
Right. I have a vision, and I made that vision happen, and now at least someone is being Oscar nominated. So, I mean, hey. I mean, I just feel like it is very petty of her. I just don't know. I don't know. And it's sad because you're going to those types of people live longer, though.
Do they?
which kind?
What kind?
People who are bitter, very angry people. It's just a
Well, Joan died.
Evil never dies.
Well, I mean, how old was she when she
Only
died?
like in her 60s, right? She died
Oh.
1970. It was 77 or 78.
Well, that's also a different time period too. They didn't have the same medications.
I
and
mean, she
everything.
lived for a long time for somebody who
they
was
both
down in
did.
She
vodka
wasn't
in her
alcoholic.
toilet. Like,
Yeah.
She wasn't alcoholic, but Betty lived longer. I don't know. I don't know.
Did Betty
Those-
live longer?
Yeah,
I thought
she died in the 70s and Betty died in the 80s, I believe, if I'm correct, 80s or 90s. But I know when Joan Rivers, Jesus.
It's okay.
Sorry. When
It's a
Joan
lot of
Crawford
Jones.
died, I believe it was 1977 because then Christina released Mommy Dearest in
Okay.
1978, if
Yeah.
I'm correct. And I believe Betty Davis lived to the late, because she did a movie in 1989.
Betty Davis
Okay.
lived to see the book release.
Yes, she did.
Yes.
So I want to say she lived to like the early 90s.
Okay.
So she lived
Which is
longer.
the
We're bringing
ultimate,
it
like,
around.
The ultimate, like, you're dead now. Great movie.
Well, ooh. Right.
But
And
I love that they really, really highlight, you know, the dynamic that they just really hit on the head. Women are being ostracized in this industry to the point that they flat out say they always think it's a fluke when a women-driven picture is a success.
Right, just because she's a
Even
woman.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which
Yeah.
even now you would think
Even
with
with-
most of the
Yeah.
population, this is full-fledged Ryan Murphy and I think some ladies in the writing room being like, hey,
Oh, yeah.
just a heads up, when we write these stories about women and men also writing stories about women, this is more than half the population.
Yeah.
I mean, not.
Guess who also buys tickets to movies? More than half the population.
Yeah.
Okay. But I mean, a great example is our presidency. So, I mean.
Well,
There you go.
a lot of women did vote, but that's another story.
Oh, no, right, okay?
Yeah.
But no, they voted. But that's what I'm saying. Like, it
We're
shows
saying,
that.
buy a ticket to the right movie.
Right.
Don't just go to the theater.
Right, vote for the right president. And regardless of her being a woman, know that she can do her job.
One of my favorite quotes from Joan, she says, as she's talking to Pauline, she's like, oh, a woman director, now I know it's over for me. Like,
Right.
what?
But see, that's the
Right.
thing. Like, people, they really feel like women. I don't know, and that's my thing too. Like, where
That's
is
why men still have the power
Yes.
in this industry. Is
Right.
because women
Yes.
have been
Downs-
told that they have to tear each other down.
or they're brainwashed.
And so they believe that they do. Yeah.
Yeah,
Instead
And
of
it's
holding
like,
each other up
yeah.
because we're women, we're supposed to support each other. Because if we did these things, we can rule the world.
Hello.
Just saying.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes.
One more question coming from Nan Indy. She says, "Is there a real mamacita out there today?"
Is Mamacita still alive?
I think she means like, is there a woman who's, you know, like in a position working as a maid, but like, you know, hustling on the side?
I mean,
and
I would
pushing
imagine.
scripts or, you know, doing some gangster stuff.
Probably.
Right.
You know,
Getting that hustle in.
you know, because out here there's a lot of maids working and
Yeah.
hustling.
Yeah.
and-
There's a lot of
in
people
these
who have
positions.
dreams, and they
Yeah.
want to do something else, and they
Yes.
become maids. They work at restaurants. We work
That's
at
what I'm
stores.
saying.
Or
That's
personal
what-
assistants,
exactly.
Yeah.
or, you know,
and
really.
trying to get a leg up.
Yeah, I mean, you see that even, I mean, Britney Spears brought her personal assistant became like her best friend.
Who,
And then she
Felicia?
started-
Okay.
Felicia. You know her name. That's what I'm
course I know.
saying. So
Yeah.
there you go. It's
Right.
like there is a Mamacita. Her name is Felicia, and she works with Britney Spears.
Hey,
Right.
Felicia.
Yeah. Hey,
Hi, Felicia, not bye.
Right, that's why I said, I didn't want to say bye, Felicia, so I said, hey, Felicia.
I was like, I knew that was
Yeah.
coming. Though. As soon as I
like
heard
it.
Felicia, I was
I
like,
like
okay.
I didn't want to dismiss her, so
There
I said,
goes the
hey,
joke.
Felicia.
Right, you like, you know, you have to have your bread and butter.
Is
You
that
have to
our
have
new?
your,
That's our new female empowerment cry. Is hey Felicia.
Hey, Felicia.
Stop telling Felicia to leave.
Right.
Her opinions are
Hey,
valid.
Felicia.
Her,
No, but everybody
well,
has their bread
I don't
and
know.
butter.
Not
they
in
have,
Friday.
They have
It's
their
like,
job.
no, and
They have their job where they make their money,
Right.
right? But then everybody has their dream or something
Yes.
they really want to do. But you have to make that money
Yeah.
to keep
Yeah.
alive.
You have to pay
Yeah.
those bills, and sometimes, you know, it sucks because when you do have your dream and you do have that job, sometimes that job takes over because you're like,
Yeah.
well, I can pay bills, I have Medicaid, I have insurance, and sometimes you're not able to live out your dream. So I
Man.
definitely believe there are some mamacitas out there.
You thought
Shout
about
out to those
Medicaid.
mamacitas.
Right, right. Or
I
in
did
your
say
real
Medicaid.
names, not Mama Cita.
Okay, am I 90 because I did say Medicaid?
No, that's a real life things
That
to
is
think
like
about.
Okay,
legit.
I'm like,
No.
guys, I have a 90-year-old spirit, as you can tell. I love, and I'm gonna throw this in. TCM Turner Classic Movies. You guys
Yeah.
don't know there is a TCM movie
Yes,
festival
yes.
happening in
Yeah.
April. It's
Yeah.
amazing. So I just wanted to let you guys in the audience.
Yeah.
She's got
Yes.
plastic on her couches.
I'm old. Because I said
Do you
Medicaid.
really?
No.
I was gonna say, I was like, no, you don't.
No, but our grandmas did.
All the grandmas
Right,
did.
all our grandmas. You're right. All our grandmothers.
Bette
and Joan.
So if you guys are interested, the movie festival is happening.
Cool.
I went last year, but there were a lot of young people there, and I was actually surprised. And I talked to a lot of older people, and they're like, "You guys are babies," and like they said in this show, you know, the young kids coming up watched the
Yeah.
Jones and the Betty. So
That's where TV helps us out.
exactly. So the
is-
festival is amazing. If you guys are in LA, please check out the TCM festival.
Yeah.
I'm old. I'm really old at heart.
No, Medicaid. I was just.
I'm glad I said
no,
that.
I'm thinking about because you know when you turn 26, you get off your parents' plan. So that's what I was thinking. I was like, dang, I'm just chalking up these years. Like
I just love that we have now gone to like movie festivals,
It
to
all relates.
Medicaid, to plastic wrapped on the couch, which I think kind of wraps up this episode.
Hey.
There you go. Wrap it up like Joan's couch.
Okay.
All that plastic.
Elena, I'm done with you tonight, okay? Because you are just giving it all. I can't.
Hey, if the projection
the
guy
energy.
gets zingers,
Yeah.
I get a zinger,
Yes.
dadgummit. What a
Taking a
great
bite of your
episode.
cookie over there.
Such a good episode. I
Great
cannot
episode.
wait for next week.
I'm excited.
Yes,
Cannot wait.
right, because
Ooh,
obviously.
So
in the
much.
meantime, where can we find more from you ladies?
Hey guys, you can find me everywhere at Lisa Mason Lee.
And my name is Raquel Harris. You can find me everywhere on social media at Raquel Harris TV, and I have a vlog that comes out on Sundays. It's called Raquel Conveys.
I am Nakia Monet. You can find me on all social media at Kiki Boom Boom. And I want to say thank you to everyone in the comments that leaves us so much love. We appreciate you and thank you for your feedback.
And I'm Elena Jordan. You can find me on Twitter at Elena Jordan and on Instagram at That Elena Jordan Girl. You can also find me back here on AfterBuzz TV and Popcorn Talk Network. And you can find me doing a sci-fi radio drama at relativitypodcast.com. And you can find all of us back here next week. Tune in. We'll see you next week.
Tune
We love you
in.
guys.
See you guys.
Bye, Felicia.
Right.
Bye.
Hey, Felicia.
Bye, hey Felicia.
Bye, hey, Felicia.
Bye, hey, Felicia.
Bye, hey.
From executives Kevin Undergaro, Dario Kristen, Tiana Hobson, and the entire BHL staff, we would like to thank you for supporting Black Hollywood Live, the first online broadcast network dedicated to African American entertainment. For questions and comments, contact us. info@blackhollywoodlive.com. Like us on Facebook, tweet us, or Instagram us at BHL Online. And I am the official voice of Black Hollywood Live, Scipio. Instagram me at KingXOBay. Thanks for tuning in.
Hollywood Redefined.
Ow.
The views expressed here are those of the host only and do not necessarily reflect the views of BHL or its owners or principals.